Hey everybody, welcome to Painting for Pleasure. I'm your host Tony Fisco, and we're going to do a scene, small scene, the little pond behind my house over here. It's got small building back here. Actually, let me show you the photograph so you can see what we're doing. If I can, it was around here somewhere. What did I do with it? Well, here they are. Here it is here. Basically, this is the scene. There's a building back on over here. There's some foliage over here. The pond, a few ducks, a few swan in here, and land in the foreground. Some bushes back here. I'm going to change this up a bit. Change up this building back here. Made it slanted with a roof, and more like a barn. Took this tree over here, put it in here. I'm going to bring some of this down this way. Throw these. I'll put some of these trees in the background over here. Nice light sky. The pond, I think what I'm going to do is leave the pond white. Although I'll probably have to darken the pond up over here because I've got some white geese, white swan that are in this area here. And some cat o' nine tails and so forth. So we'll change it up a bit. These are the two photographs that I've got in front of me. More interested in the swan and the ducks, that kind of thing. So we're just going to put these up here, and we're going to paint it nice and loose, and we'll give it a shot. So first of all, let's get some water. Let me wash out my brushes and then we'll get started. So water first, okay? We're going to wet the sky. We're going to do this wet and wet. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to actually, let me just wet the whole thing. Take my sky brush right here, and we're going to just sort of wet the entire sky area here. And we're going to wet all of this right down in this area here. I'm going to leave some of the water white, and we'll come down in this way here, and we'll just have fun painting this thing. This is going to be land over here, so we'll just work our way around it. So wetting it like I did, we want a nice light sky. So in terms of a nice light sky, let's get just some cobalt blue, very, very watery cobalt blue, almost to, I'm going to do this almost to a green. Here you go, nice and watery. Let me show you what I'm doing here. Nice and watery, nice and light. And I'm going to end up coming in here, and I'm going to just give it a little bit of taste, a very light area. And I want to warm it up, so I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow ochre as I come down here. I want to change it up a bit, but I want it light. But I don't want it bright. I don't want it, a real bright yellow. So cobalt will work. I mean, the yellow ochre will work very, very nicely over here, right? So we just bring this nice streak in here, and maybe a little bit of a hint of just a nice, little bit bluer sky over here to make that happen, okay? Now, what I have here is I'm going to paint this wet into wet. I'm going to use a round brush to do this, and I want to get some interesting warms in here, but I also want some cools that are back over in this area here. So in order to do that, I'm going to take a little bit of my cobalt blue, and I'm going to mix up some a little bit of alizarin crimson with that. All right, so we're going to do, here's what I'm doing, a little bit of cobalt blue over here. A little bit of alizarin crimson in this area. See how cool that is? All right, and we'll probably use that plus maybe a touch of my brown, which is my burnt sienna. So we want a nice gray, and let's see what happens. Yeah, that's probably the gray, but it's a little bit too loose. So we don't want that as watery. We want that a little bit less watery in this area. So we have to basically mix up our pigment a little bit thicker. Again, cobalt blue. a little bit of alizarin crimson, and burnt sienna. Okay, so I want to take the water out of my brush. So I'll take a paper towel here, that's going to be my sponge. We want to take the water out of my brush and mix the pigment up a little bit more intense, a little bit more pigment than water right now for this little area right here. Again, a little bit of coolness in the cobalt, touch of alizarin, and just a tad of burnt sienna. So it's going to be on the brownish side, or it's going to be on the gray side, which is what I'm looking for in these areas here. We want to just do something that's going to come up in this area here. Okay, so we have this nice cool area that's going to come down in this in here, and we're going to throw some cool, go to a little bit of a change up here, so that we're going to end up coming back in this area, and we're going to wrap some lighter cool areas around here. Okay, so we want to do some of that around my building. Okay, so you can see what ends up happening. I'm just putting some cool areas in here. We'll come in a bit more and do this because I want to come right into the tree area. And we are going to come down along the shore over here. Okay, along the shore over here, because the barn is going to be in that area right there. And we're going to end up coming down a little bit. Let me just get a little bit warmer tones in here by a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm just picking up a little bit of burnt sienna in here, and we're going to end up adding some of that because that's going to come down in this area. We're going to bring a little bit of that nice burnt sienna in this area. Here's my tree that's going to be right over here, and then I got this landmass on the pond that we want to create a little bit of warmth, which is okay, and just a touch back here. So that's going off in the distance. I might leave that all nice and white. We'll see what happens. A little bit stronger my pigment, cobalt, a little bit richer, a little bit of burnt sienna, more pigment, less water. Take the water out of your brush. All I'm doing is I'm coming over here and taking the water out from back here, taking the water out, drains it down a little bit more, and want to put a little bit more of a feel of pigment back here that will stay pretty much where I put it. All right, a little darker, so a little bit more cobalt blue. And we'll come down in this area here. Now that that's in, what I want to do is I want to sort of run this down here. We're going to, all right, because this is land. This is all sort of land mass here, so I'm just going to draw some of this down into this area. We're going to come over and get some, this is nothing but yellow ochre now that I'm bringing in here to this landmass. Something around the ducks. This is a little bit oh, sorry, the swan. We want to bring those around there because the ducks are, or the swan is standing on the shore, looking out into the watered area. All right, so we want this all to come down, and I want water in here. I'm going to end up working my shoreline over here, and I'm going to probably put a piling right there too, so going into the water. I'll do that later. All right, want to capture this. Want it almost ghostly like. Let's really get into a situation over here where we're doing something with the tree area, all of the brush, all of the stuff that's up here, and we're going to do that in fall colors. A little bit on the wet side. I think I need a little bit more pigment. So what I'm doing is I'm combining my reds, a little bit of pyro red, a little bit of yellow ochre. A lot of pigment here. But I'm going to, first of all, before I do that, I want that basic tone in there. So I want to just pick up a little bit of a sort of watery area, and let's see where this goes. And then notice what I'm doing is I'm putting this in gently on the side of my brush. So we have this sort of fall tree that's coming over here. Cool landscape. Add a little bit of touch here and there. And I'm just going to lift this up a little bit. I don't want that hard edge there so much. So what I'm doing is I'm lifting this up. I'm going to spray it a bit. Let some of this drain down. See if I can wash that down so that it's not as hard edged. Okay. Soften the edge up a bit. And we'll probably let that dry a bit, maybe spritz it a bit. We'll see what happens. What I want to do is, it's not quite, I want to get some spritzing in there when that dries enough so that I'm lifting out some whites, blossoms that, if not, we'll just put in some fine white. Now this is my watered area. Here my swan. I want to take and build this tree up a little bit more with some brighter colors. And what I want is a little bit more pigment in here. So again, strong yellow ochre. The brush is fairly dry. And we're going to just scatter some darks. Darker pigment here and there. Okay. Maybe a bit stronger here and there. How about, say, something like coming out here. A little bit more over my building. Somewhere up in the sky area where it sort of washes into there. Certainly down in this area here where we would have more shadow. And we'll probably end up mixing that up with a little bit more of my background color, which is all this stuff that's over here. Okay. But certainly some nice rich values in here. All right. We'll build that up a little stronger. Let's get my barn, which I think is still a cool color. We want the brown, we want the barn back here. So we'll start off with the barn or the building like that, and then when we get into we'll get more into the right side of it where there's light on it. And take a little bit of my yellow ochre okay, and maybe a touch, yeah, we'll do a touch of burnt sienna. Okay, let that dry. I'm gonna make the windows real dark. Gonna make the door entry into that old barn real dark. Big, the big door. We do have this is not quite dark enough yet. And I do want to create a little bit more interest in some of this area over here. And I want this dark enough. This is going to be darker end foliage-wise. We'll do something like that. Now we'll get some blue. Add that to it. Sort of build this up a bit here. All right, this is very loose painting, but we need enough of it when it's dry. It's with definition. We definitely want some definition in this. Now one of the things I didn't do and I should have done, and I hope I still can do, is to get some holes in here because I forgot to leave some holes so that we can actually see through the trees. So let me just dump some light, some water in here. We'll definitely do some water in here. So it eats at some of these areas. All right. Again, the idea is we want to keep this nice and loose. All right, and the water, interestingly enough, if we just leave it nice and white, we've got a beautiful little piling that's sticking out over the water. How about right here? Pipe or some darn thing. We don't know what it is. All right. And what I'll do is I'll just create some weedy stuff around here so that you really will sort of hide a little bit, just create some of the nice stuff that's there. So what we're doing is looking for soft edges and hard edges. Maybe some cat o' nine tails, I don't know, we'll see. We'll do something over there. We do have to define this a little bit more. That is to say, define the shoreline a bit more. And we can do that like this. Let's take a little bit of yellow ochre to do it. A little strength here. Oh. All right, well. We'll do that. Let's make that a little bit lighter. Okay. So perhaps maybe we got a shoreline. Let's see, the shoreline's coming out here, coming across here, and with this tree in here, I'm going to get a glare here so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so let's make this a little bit darker in this area here. And we'll keep our tree. You want to creep? Well, I don't know. We might make the tree even much more darker than that. Okay, so let's come back over here. We have these interesting trees, conifer type trees, spruce, bark. You know what's going on in this area. I'm just using some of the darks, same colors, same colors. Same colors being cobalt blue, right? Cobalt blue, a little bit of alizarin crimson, a little bit of burnt sienna for the cool stuff. All right, and just want to create this sort of nice, interesting stuff that's going on. And we're going to do the same thing around my barn, top of the roof. Probably a little bit darker right in this area here. All right. Okie doke, and we do have our little ducks, or a little swan, and we do need to make sure that those swans stand out. So I'm going to have to build, if those are going to be white, I'm going to have to build something around there. So I think what I'm going to do is we're going to take a little bit of my cerulean blue here and add it. Let's add this little cerulean blue here to this stuff mixture, and come in here, and let me see that pond. Hang on a second. Yeah, we'll just come around here. Let's see if I can do this and make it sort of dark. And so I'm coming right around the, I have to keep my swan white. Or else they're not going to show up. So we're coming around the swan. Okay. And we'll just soften this stuff up as it comes out. There you go. We want to pop those little guys, and we'll give this a little bit of reflection in here. I want to be very careful. We need this a little bit darker in here, a little bit more cerulean blue. These areas here. This is a painting that's very loosely done. A lot of water. Okay, so we need to make sure that we understand that those are swan. We had to make them a little bit darker around there. And let me see if I can do this. I'm going to turn my board. So bear with me for a second because I need to get it at this angle. And I'm going to have to take some of this out of here because what's happening is I'm losing the body of that swan. And I may have to do this when it dries up a bit, but I just need to get the body of that swan back a little bit more. And we'll just get some water. Okay. Let's get this a little bit lighter here. A little bit water. Take some water. A little lighter. It's sort of really a super abstract kind of look. Okay. Now, small brush. Let's get this dark enough yet. Probably, hopefully we will. We're going to get that a little bit darker, so we're going to mix a little bit of burnt sienna with my French ultramarine blue. We want this nice and dark. All right, we want this nice and dark, real super dark right in here. Almost a dry brush effect. Not quite, but I don't want quite a dark dry brush effect. But we do want this. We're not. Okie doke. Okay, and we've got a little window right here. And we got a window right there. And we got a little building. The roof of the building. A couple of other little small things that are around. We got, here's the building, the end of our building. A little bit dark in there. We have some things that are happening over here. Okay. And let me see if I can get this. We have this tree that's over here. It's dark. A little bit of sienna, a bit more sienna. And with my blue, we want to put this dark. What we want is we want okay. It's a little bit lighter down at the bottom, actually. So I see it in my picture, and you can just okay. All right. Beginning to look like a tree, hopefully. Hopefully it's beginning to look like a tree. Looks like because of all of this that's going on right here, we need to beef up some of that. Not quite as intense as we want. So we're going back to my combination of a little bit of yellow ochre and a little bit of my pyro red together. Just the here, that's just too much. A little bit of yellow ochre, a lot more yellow ochre than red, just a touch of it. And coming back in here, I'm going to start to give this a little bit more gutsier, a little bit more gutsy look. Right, we need to get a little bit heavier pigment here and there. All right, and we want to. Now it's a deciduous tree, so I'm not doing it the same way I did this. I'm taking my brush and I'm working from the side. Deciduous meaning it's going to loses its leaves in the wintertime. It's but I want to make sure that I get this strong enough. I'm probably a little bit too strong. Yeah. A little bit of yellow ochre. And picking up some of this, well, all I'm doing is really picking up some of the blue that I have down on my palette here, because we could, some of the underside's going to be in shadow, right? All right, so cobalt, little sienna. Going back to the gray, take the water out of the brush. Take the water out of the brush. We want to definitely get a little bit more interest in this down in this area here, so we need this a little bit darker. Okay. Darker over here, because it's usually darker underneath. So darker in here. Darker, darker, darker. Darker there. So there's my tree. This is not quite as dark as I want it. Okay. Now, let's say this is a hill. We're going to just do this, and then we're going to just Soften all of this up over here. All right, so I think that I want this lighter. I do not like that. Taking that out. Let's make this even lighter in here. We're just talking about from a compositional point of view here. I want that a little bit lighter there too, a little bit lighter in here. Soften that up a bit. Okay, that's good. And then I'll fix, and we'll just make this more interesting here, maybe. Okay. A little bit of, let's just put a little green in here as well. Mix this all up a little bit more. All right, so I got that sort of tree in there. A couple of small what do you call these barn siding boards here. A couple of boards that are the sides of the barn. Do this. All right. Varies up a little bit more. Okay. So we see our little barn back there. I think what we need to do is to make sure that we have enough value around this here. Probably pop a little bit of a right here. Crooked. Let's try it again. I need to go back and get my. This is not a good brush to do that with. All right, I want all of that sort of washed out. Don't want to define any of that really too much. But I do have to come back in here and define my, see all my baby swan here. Let me lift that light out. All right. And I'm just coming back and taking the water, scrubbing some of that out. Let's take the water and just scrub some of this out. Didn't really want to get any, wanted to leave that dry. My little geese, my little swan here. let's get that out of there. And this guy's okay. So we need a real strong, we need an edge, you know, dark edge to this here. Oh, I lost my, good Lord, this is still wet. So I lost my root structure over here. You know, well, I'm going to end up probably losing that again too. The edge of that pond. So when it dries, I think we'll be better off. All right. Okie doke. So let me get my. Here's what. Let's do this. Let's say we got. A little bit of something there, a little bit of color breakup. We probably should have, let me see if I got a small, let's see, what is this brush? That's a flat brush. There you go. Let's get my rigger out here. Let's see if I can do this with my rigger. Because what I'm going to do is come up with a couple of still a little bit wet. Yeah, still a little bit wet. We'll just have to wait on that. Wait till that dries. And wait till it dries. Okay. Just wait for all of that to dry out. Okay. In the meantime, we'll just get some nice bright colors right out here in the edges of the tree. This is where where the story's told anyway. This is, you know, all this good stuff that's out here. You know. All right. Now, let's do this. Make these a little bit more convincing. Make all this stuff a little bit more convincing here. Okay, so we really want to get some, you know, I'll tell you what, we'll use some, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring some lavender into this, into these areas here. and hope that maybe that'll kind of okay. All right. Okay. So we got my swan's got a little bit of a little bit of an underbelly, and we'll just get some water. Okay. And the same way with this guy here. This one's got a little bit of a something going on over there, and we'll just give him a little bit of a, all right. And we'll bring in some yellow. First time I'm going to use a little bit of this new gamboge. Okay. Yellow ochre. A little bit of yellow ochre there, and we got a little bit of of that, and I need a little bit of black. Need a little bit of black in here. Let's see, because these guys, if I can see if I can do this. Not quite. I need a bit. Have to let it dry a bit, I think. Now we'll let that dry. Okay. We'll let that dry, and then I'll just fix that. And then we got this little guy under here because we got a shadow. And he's got a shadow on his neck. Couple little keys in here. Gonna put in some excuse me, some grass in here, some weeds. And we'll put in some over here. Yep. We're gonna do something over there. We're gonna just probably do something over here too. Some of the small stuff to help this along. Separate the ground. Sure. Okay, make this a little stronger down here. Help that out. Let me look at that shore. Let me look at the shore here. Yep. We need, some of it's going to be a little bit darker. All right. Well, let's just tell you what we'll do. We'll just do a bunch of this stuff. All right. Okay, dog. A little tissue. We just got some crap on here. Let's see if I can get it out. you know, wash this off a little bit. And soften this all out here. So the only thing I really have to do is to just pop these little swan a little bit more. And what I'm going to do actually is, let's do this, because we do have, considering what this is, now let's just do this. I don't want it necessarily in the water. All right. All right. Water. And we're going to do a little bit more water here too. Water. All right. We'll let that dry. I think we're close to being done. A couple of small things. I want to see how that works out over there. A little bit too close, I think. We don't really see that tree very strongly. So I want to make that a little bit more interesting. And maybe we can just darken this up a bit here and there. All right. Maybe something like that. And maybe let's get something like some real dark in there, maybe in here. And let's get some twigs. Oh, too much. Some thin twigs. Thin twigs. Right. Couple up here. Couple down in that area. Whoop, we got some birds up here. We're going to have to take care of those. All right. I like that. Let me see if I can get that out of there. Let's see if I can get some of this out of here. wash those out. All right. I guess okay. Close enough. I think we'll just let this sit for a while, and if it looks like it's going to have to change a bit, I'll come back. But I want to let it sit overnight. Come back, take a look at it, see what we have to do to enhance it a bit. But so we'll be back.